the fall of 2024 is going to go down as probably the worst Yellow Jacket infestation in Kentucky history. But in 2006, those daggone Woodford County Yellow Jackets, they were everywhere. Our guest here today was, I would say, the bodyguard for the 2006 team. Sir, if you would, tell us who you are.
I'm Kyle Goodrich. I was part of the 05-06 state championship teams, and I was an individual state champion in 2006 at the heavyweight weight class.
And I was gonna say, man, you gotta let everybody know, man, you was the heavyweight on that team, and they was some dudes on that team. We'll talk about that in a little bit later. The question that we started everybody off with is, how do you get into wrestling, man? How do you find it?
So I played football, did a lot of sports with guys growing up, and got into middle school, and football season was over, and I tried wrestling in elementary school for a year with Tommy Castle. It was fun, but I got into middle school, and a lot of my friends were either doing basketball, which I was terrible at basketball, so I didn't even try there. And then Rusty and Richard, they were doing wrestling, so it was something to do after school, and that's how I got into it, and I fell in love with it.
No, man, I get it. And as the sport of wrestling has grown in Kentucky, we've had a lot of teams pop up all across the state, and I'm glad to have them. I truly am. I'm glad to see the teams growing, the middle school teams, elementary, the girls wrestling is growing. But man, there was a time that from about 93 to the 06 season, Woodford County, man, they were the show. You know what I mean? Even if like the JV team come, or I think you guys may have called it like the black, gold, and white squads. They did so many different. Even if one of those showed up at your tournament, you was like, dude, Woodford's here. Oh my God.
Yep.
And Harrison, our good friend Harrison Courtney, four-timer for Woodford County, he's now the head coach.
Yep.
They've got a lot of people helping with the middle school now, and there's no doubt that they will get that program back. Top 5, top 10 teams in the state. They had 2 girls individual state champions this year. They had a boys individual. 2 of the 3 are on. We're trying to still get up with Lauren. So Lauren, if you watch this, get up with me. Love to have you. But I think we have a whole generation of kids now that haven't seen Woodford County on top.
Yeah.
And that's no offense to the coaches, the wrestlers that's come through there. Every program, no matter what it is, every school is going to have their ups and their downs. But there was a time that Woodford County was the show. I mean, they were the show. And we're going to talk about one of the Woodford trademarks here just in a little bit. But let's talk about that 06 team, because they was some dudes on that team. Let's talk about them. At your 103, you had Shane Parks. He come in third.
Yep.
Cody Lewis at 112. He come in first. John Smith at 119. Steve Butler at 130. Chad Scott at 135. Blake Sheehan at 140. Harrison at 145. Of course, that was Harrison's first of his 4 at 145. Justin Mays at 152. Chad Fife at 160. Chad come in fourth. Will Starks at 171. Will is the 3-time state champion. We're still trying to get up with Will. So Will, holler at me, man. Let's get it done. Richard Starks at 189. Of course, Richard, 3-time state champion. Same thing, Richard, man. Holler at me. Matt Bird come in 5th at 215. But the next year, he won it at heavyweight. And then, of course, you at heavy. So you had 5 state champions that year. Just an absolute domination of a state tournament. And you guys scored 230 cumulative team points. The next closest team was 166, with South Oldham coming in second. So you guys are coming off that 2005 team state championship. Coming in, did you play football, I guess, that senior year? Okay.
Yes, I did.
So after football season ends, do you kind of look around the room and you're like, ain't nobody touching us this year, right?
I mean, that was pretty much the general consensus. And, just as long as we worked our tails off, and yeah, it was going to happen.
Yeah, man. And that Woodford County tradition, and we've got a lot of guys to talk about it, but I think something that it's not, I don't have much left to go off of, but something about that early 2000s, late 90s Woodford was the blonde hair.
Oh, yeah.
Bleach blonde, just you like the for those of a certain age, that Eminem, Slim Shady, just blonde, crazy looking blonde hair. That's been a tradition. Isaac John's done it this year in the finals. But like when you guys are in school, do you guys get together at somebody's house after practice, and a mom or sisters or somebody get together and just
usually it was 2 or 3 guys or a group of guys would get together and do it. I forget who I did it with junior year, but mom thought it was hideous. Her best friend's a hairdresser, so her best friend said, "No, you're not doing it. You got to come to the shop." So my senior year, I got it done professionally. So
no, I got it. And that's something that is so just so unique for a team to do. And everybody knew, there's several teams that kind of have the same color scheme. Johnson Central has the black and gold. Louisville Central has the black and gold. There are several teams that have some black and gold mixed in their singlets. But when you saw the hair, you knew that's a Woodford County wrestler. You just knew. Yep. You could see them in the arena there at the dungeon. You could just tell. And man, it's cool that I'm not advocating for teams to go out and start dyeing your hair, guys. So when you come to the state tournament this year and you've got red and pinks and whatever color, don't come, parents or whoever coaches, don't come to me and Kyle and say it was because you guys, my team, they want to do it. Let them. You're only in high school once. You only get to do it for a little bit. But it was cool to see that. So in 2004, though, you're a sophomore. You make it to the state tournament, but you don't place. But the world's not ending. You're a sophomore. No big deal. 2005, same thing. You're a junior, heavyweight. You make it to the state tournament. You don't place, but you contribute to your team winning the state championship. And that, I guess it depends on how you're coached or how knowing what you've got around you is. Some people are more, they're more proud of being a part of a team state championship than they are an individual. So you've got 2 team titles on as a varsity wrestler and an individual state championship. Are they kind of the same? Do you hold weight over one over the other? How does it go?
I mean, it's exciting either way. It's exciting being a part of a team title. I mean, yes, I didn't contribute as much as others, but I contributed, and it was my team. So it was real cool. And having back-to-back team titles, it's something. Back in that day, it didn't happen much. I mean, kudos to Union County for putting in the work, and I don't know how many they had straight in a row, but I know it definitely more than 2. So, but having it's an accomplishment to be an individual state champ. So,
absolutely,
either way you fold it, it was cool, and it was great being a part of as a team.
Because the reason I asked that is our buddy, good friend of the channel, Isaac Knable, 4-time state champion from St. Xavier. We done his videos. He was one of the first guys we got to meet with, and he said that he would, because in '99 they come in third. I believe St. X had won it in '98. They come in, I think, third, something to that effect. Woodford won it in '99. Chris Dunn, Josh Whitaker, that whole bunch.
Yep.
2000. Woodford beat St. X by like 1.5 points or something.
Yeah.
01, they won it again as a team, and then 02, they were kind of a little bit down that year. St. Xavier was, and Isaac said in one of his videos he would give up all 4 of his individual if they could have all 4 team titles. And I was like, man, that's being one of the very select few that's won it 4, to give up that for a 4 team titles. I guess it all depends on your mentality, how you're coaching.
Yep.
how your coaches, present the team, or, it is an individual sport, but, when you're with those guys or girls now for however long, and you're going to see them out after you graduate, you're still probably going to be friends, whatever. I could see how the mentality could be different depending on what the coaches know their team has. But Woodford County, man, they've got such a tradition, and let's talk about it. 13 team state championships. 1970, 72, 73, 74, 77, 93, 96, 97, 99, 2000, 2002, 2005, and 2006 at second place overall. 67 individual state champions, 65 boys and 2 girls. That's also second place as well. And 5 most outstanding wrestlers. Jeff Fitch in 73 and 74. Joe Carr Jr. in 97. Ian Horn in 98. Harrison in 08. And then Lauren was the first girl state state most outstanding this past year in 2024. So just an absolutely phenomenal history there. And we know it's in good hands there with Harrison. I think Brent's going to be helping out a little bit. So just, can't wait to see what they do with it. But let's talk, though, about your 2006 state tournament run. You start off with a fall 59 seconds over Matt, I believe it's Halthus from Campbell County. Does that sound about right? I don't want to mispronounce anybody's name, but I believe that's how it's pronounced. Matt Halthus, 59 seconds. Then you go to the second round. You win a 55-second fall over Matt Bollinger from North Hardin. So 2 matches, 2 pins. The first day, you want to get in. You don't really want to overexert yourself. It's a long tournament, 3 days there. But, Woodford to, or I say Versailles to Frankfort isn't that far of a drive. Did you make the trip back and forth? Did you guys stay in a hotel? How did it go?
No, we made the trip back and forth.
Okay.
I mean, from the high school to downtown at the Civic Center, maybe 25 minutes. I
was going to say maybe if heavy traffic. Now, I mean, you don't have to give exactly where you live, but did you live closer to Frankfurt? Did you live like on the Lexington side?
I live on the opposite side of the county. So
okay,
I had to travel about 15, 20 minutes just to get to the high school. So
I got you. And there's something to be said, man, about being able to go to your own house, use your own shower, sleep in your own bed. You know what I mean?
I think it makes a difference.
Oh, it does. And I couldn't tell you how many guys, when the state tournament was in Louisville, when it was a 2-day, they would go home after the semifinals. They would go back to their house and, eat, sleep, whatever the case is, just at their own house. And, there's a lot to be said for that, especially in a hotel that you don't know and the bed may not be the best or, whatever. You get to the quarters, you're wrestling Jason Harden from PRP out of Louisville. You win a 7-0 decision. Jason goes on to get 5th place that year. And this is the one I wanted to talk about. You get to the semis, you're wrestling Corey Peters out of Louisville Central. Corey goes on to get 6th. You win a 3-1 decision. Oh, by the way, that's the same Corey Peters that was I believe, a 4-year varsity letterman at UK and just recently retired out of the NFL.
Yep.
Played several years for the Arizona Cardinals. He played bunch of NFL teams. But did you know who, I think Corey had already committed to UK, if memory serves me right. Did you know?
At that point, I think he had already committed, yeah.
And did you know much about him, or did you kind of know who he was?
Corey and I, we had wrestled, I want to say 6 times previous to that. And
wow.
I forget if he had started as a freshman or sophomore. I'm not sure. But just through the years of wrestling him, you could see how he had progressed.
Yeah.
At first, I think I pinned him the first couple times. And then after that, it was always just a, regular decision after that.
Mm-hmm.
So
I got you.
But I knew what I was looking at, and with Jason Harden and Corey, I knew both of them were, people were as far as the Kentucky forums were saying, I was going to get beat handily by Jason Harden, and if I didn't, it was going to be a good match with Peters. So,
Yeah.
but I knew what I had to look forward to. And, I just went out, wrestled my match. And even though, I might have put Corey in a couple of positions he didn't like at that point, he's a strong kid. If I put him somewhere he didn't like, it's just like, shoe fly, and he just kind of pushed me off of him. So,
Yeah, no, I get it, man. And recently, as this is the 9th of September 2024, that way we can kind of date ourselves. I haven't got it finished yet, but I started it actually kind of took on a life of its own. I'm doing the Kentucky wrestling slash making a football team out of guys that have played football, whether in high school, in college, in the pros, and whatever. And I go back through and add a few names, and they're like, "Oh, you got to add this guy from this," and that, and it's cool to see. Just imagine some of the teams we could have had, back if we could put all these dudes together and do a Kentucky versus the world or whatever. It'd be an amazing team. Just have to have you on. I think you come up several times being on the offensive line, so
yep.
Got to make sure.
Didn't really have many accolades. Our team wasn't great at all, so never really made it to regionals or state. But I feel like I could have been a all region or possibly an all state offensive lineman.
Yeah, no,
wrestling helped me out tremendously on the football
absolutely
field.
And we just done Landon Young's video. Landon was actually on the active roster for the New Orleans Saints their first game of the 2024 season. So yep. I was glad to see that. But you get to the finals, you're wrestling Brian Hall from Paducah Tillman. Now we're not going to tell you the score. We have the video. We're thanks to our friend Harrison Courtney, he found the partial of the 2006 finals. He found from the 160 up, and there's a lot of Woodford dudes in that. From that, you got, of course, you, Richard, and Will all in that little span of video. So hopefully he can find the other, the 103 through 152. But you win that semifinals match, pretty rough match. You're going into the finals. You guys are well out ahead of the team score. You probably guys realize you've won the team state championship before the finals start. So when you win, do you go home? What do you do after you win that semifinals? Do you go rest somewhere? What do you do?
So after the semifinals, of course, there were a group of us. I think it was Richard, Will, and myself. We went, and one of the alumni wrestlers from Woodford County took us out to eat.
Okay.
So of course, Will and Richard didn't have to worry about making weight. I was well under that 275, so really didn't matter what I ate. But we went, got something to eat, and then went. Will and Richard, they were out of Midway, so that's a little bit closer. So we went back to their house, took a nap, hung out, and then meandered our way back to Frankfort for the finals.
Man, that's cool. I love hearing those stories, and talking about the Louisville guys. When it was in Frankfort, I couldn't tell you the number of guys that had rooms there in the big tower and would go up and sleep or whatever, just go up and chill by themselves for a little bit. But does Coach Carr, Coach Parks, any of the guys that's been there before, Will, Richard, any of the alumni, do they come and give you like any super secret Woodford advice about being in the state finals, or is it just go out and just do what you do? Or
go out, do what you do, and wrestle your match.
No, I got it, man. I got it. Now, has it been a while since you've seen your finals video?
So the finals video, all those mini tapes, for some reason they were lost, and I guess Coach Graves had actually given those tapes to my little brother, and they were in my parents' garage for 10 years at least. And Dad said, "Hey, I found these. I'm giving them to Harrison." I said, "Please do." So I've watched it, a couple times since then. But just the other day when Harrison posted on YouTube was the first time I had seen it, at all. So
yeah, and that's I'm glad that Harrison is doing that, making the YouTube channel, the Woodford Wrestling Archive. So many videos on there. If you've not checked out Harrison's channel, that Woodford Wrestling Archive, if you wrestled in Kentucky in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, you're probably on there somewhere. So go back and just check that channel out. He does an excellent job with it, and he's posting stuff. I think he's up to like 450 some videos that he's posted to duels and tournaments, state tournaments, regions, you name it. It's just about on there. So we're going to pull up your match video. And like I said earlier, you can always tell a Woodford wrestler, that blonde hair. So you're in here, lights are down, crowd's going crazy. You're the last match of the evening. Are you pumped? Are you scared? Are you excited?
I want to add here, there was a lot of pressure on me. So there were 5 of us in the finals. The 4 before me all won. So there was pressure on me to get this win to, make it 5 of 5. So, I mean, a little nerve wracking, but in all honesty, as soon as that whistle blows and I'm wrestling, it all falls away. Yeah, that everybody's yelling, you're right there under the spotlight, but you're there to do a job, and that's what I was there to do. So
I get it, man. All right, enough talking about it, man. Let's go. All right, so right out of the gate, man, you guys aren't the typical. And no offense to some of the heavyweights, but you guys are probably what, about 240s, 250s here?
I think I weighed in that day. I weighed in at 261 and some change. So
okay,
I might didn't look it, but
yeah, you guys can tell that you guys have got some muscle. I mean, you're not just heavyweights without muscle. You guys are upper 260s, whatever it may be, but you guys have got some muscle behind that.
Oh yeah, and you can obviously tell that with Brian.
Yeah, he was Brian's a animal.
Yep.
And you guys right there, he kind of tosses you, but nothing. You're able to roll through, no points.
No, illegal headlock. And
is that what they called?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You can see my arm came out, and they called it. So the years since, I've looked back on it or thought back on it and said, was that an illegal headlock? And once I saw it, I was like, all right, yeah, it was a justified point. So
yeah, and I mean, I'm not sure who's filming it, but the way, like the cuts going from like out of bounds straight back to wrestling, a lot of things can happen that, especially looking at it from the referee point of view, like I wasn't sure that stoppage if there was blood, injury. So I'm glad that you was able to add that in about the illegal headlock, because that's going to come in useful here in a little bit. So had you wrestled him before?
Yeah, I'd actually wrestled him in the wrestle backgrounds at state the year previous, and I forget how I won. I know that he was pretty winded the previous year, obviously in a lot better shape his senior season.
So he cut you right there. It's 2-0 now. You're up 2-0 in the second period. If you've never got to attend a state finals at the Dungeon, it was incredible, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's completely different from today. So
yeah. Do you have a lot of family, a lot of friends in the crowd here?
Oh yeah, I got a lot of family, and Woodford County, they showed up because it's right there, and at this point, Woodford County wrestling is a big deal. So a lot of my family was there. Pretty much all my family was there, and a lot of good friends from high school were there as well.
And you could hear I've had to turn the volume down just so we can talk because it was so loud in there.
Oh yeah.
And I believe you've got Coach Carr and Coach Parks in your corner.
Yes, I believe so.
Couldn't ask for two better coaches to have in your corner there.
Nope.
Do you remember hearing them yell any instructions out to you, or was it just zoned out? Or
I mean, I remember, essentially at one point, I heard Coach Carr or Coach Parks yelling out, work your offense, work your setup, which, I like that underhook offense on the near side, and right there, he was hanging on my head the whole time, and you can tell I hate it. So, but at one rate, probably this period or the next period, I could hear Coach Carr just, stay busy, stay busy. So as you can tell, I'm always pushing, going. I would have liked to think I was the most in shape heavyweight in the state that year,
yeah.
but I was always going, always doing something. So
Now, right there, of course, in the start of the third period, I guess he chose down, and instead of cutting him, was it your, I guess, thought, hey, I could hold him down a little bit longer, or should you have like laid him up, or?
I always work that near wrist, rotary ride down to near wrist, and honestly, there, a few guys out there that it was just they're gonna pop straight up and get out. So
I got you.
He was one of them. I always had trouble with Mike Clark. I had trouble with Corey Peters, So, but yeah, he popped right up, and I knew instead of just exerting energy there to keep him down, wrestle him on my feet.
And that's a veteran move. Sometimes what's the old saying? 2, 1, not 2.
Yep. Yep, and right here, so I was lucky enough to see the end of his match with Mike Clark, and of course, Mike Clark was the previous year state champ at heavyweight, and I saw that he had blast doubled Mike for that final takedown. I don't know if it was in the third period or if they went into overtime, but right here, I kind of knew what I need to be aware of and watch for. So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So the score is 2-1. We're late in the third period, and I'm actually standing by the PA guy when he says, "It's go time, big fellas." Turn up the volume a little bit here. And there it is, man.
Yep.
You win. Final score, 2-1. 2006 heavyweight state champion.
Yep, and just like in heavyweight fashion, might have been a little bit more exciting than other heavyweight matches, but definitely not exciting as some of the heavyweight matches you see nowadays.
And of course, we've got to throw in we got to have the Coach of the Year award presentation. It was on here, man. That's what I love about digging up these old videos, is stuff that we thought was lost for years. We've able to dig up and have for the future generations. And there comes the bleached blonde-headed Yellow Jackets.
Yep.
And whenever the lights come on here in a second, guys, you can see just how many, well, I think everybody has that blonde hair look going on.
Yeah, and we probably could have scored quite a few more points, or possibly had 6 state champs if Rusty didn't get injured.
Yeah,
I think he was nursing knee surgery at that rate. So.
Yeah, of course, talking about Rusty Parks Jr., 2,412-pound state champion.
But yeah, it was those guys, like they say, iron sharpens iron. So
absolutely,
it was those guys that got me fit and ready. Especially the heavier weights. Richard, Will, Matt Bird. Matt Bird and I, we'd grind every day, and I mean it got ugly sometimes, but it's because of them I was ended up on top.
Absolutely. And of course, like you said earlier, Matt goes on the next year, 2007, individual heavyweight state champion. So you helped him, he helped you.
Yep.
I got to officiate his regional finals match there in 07. It lasted, I don't know, about 30 seconds.
Sounds about right.
Now, whenever the lights kick on here, guys, they do the break it down. Look at all those blonde heads. Look at that. I love seeing it. And that's where this one ends. Great match, great heavyweight finals. Two studs just duking it out, and very easily could have went to overtime, but good call by the referee stopping it there for that illegal headlock. So all these years later, almost hard to believe now it's almost been 20 years since that happened, but does it play out the way you remember it?
Yeah, it does. It does. And it's real cool to look back on that, not only see my match, but get to watch Richard and Will's match as well. Richard, I couldn't tell you how many times he wrestled Alex Winninger, but it was always about the same. He went in, did his 3 or 4 moves in neutral, bottom and top, and had his way. So,
and sometimes, man, when you get to that level, when you get to perfecting things, you just need 3 or 4 moves. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Just be an absolute hammer at it. And I think this is a bigger topic. We'll just kind of briefly touch on it. Is I couldn't tell you the number of youngsters now that are going to, every weekend, going to a camp, going to seminars, going here, going there, trying to learn all these different things. And you'll see them wrestle, and they have so much that they've learned that they just can't get it all out, and they end up, getting beat on stuff they shouldn't. And you just want to take them to the side and say, learn 4 or 5 takedowns, 4 or 5 moves on top, and just perfect them. A couple stand-ups, a couple escapes, and just be hammers with them. You don't have to know 25,000 moves. Just get a few that you can't be stopped with. Now, let's talk about that 2006 heavyweight bracket. I'm not sure if you know this, but all 8 of the state place winners that year were seniors. Did you know that?
Yep.
Okay. Of course, you talked about Mike Clark. He's on the channel, 2005 state champion. He ended up getting 3rd. Brian Hall beat him 8-7 in the semis. So it was good. You was able to, I guess, kind of scout him out a little bit and knew what was coming. But just some absolute studs. You had, of course, you, Brian, Mike, the kid from, I believe it was PRP, the Hardin kid. You had John Wells at Sheldon Clark. Remember John Wells?
Yep. He honestly toughest guy to wrestle because everybody I wrestled in the room was tall, and he was vertically challenged. So he gave me a time, but may he rest in peace.
I was going to say, rest in peace to John. Corey Peters, I mean, just a stacked heavyweight state bracket, and you were able to come out on top. And I think the match is indicative of the type of dudes that were in the that bracket, that were the guys, I guess, that made it to the placement rounds. Just, could have been anybody. Could have been anybody. It was your tournament. You had the practice partners. You had the coaching. I guess you had the desire to come out on top, man. It was just a good, hard-fought battle. So before we wrap this one up, anything you'd like to say, add, take away, anything like that, to the add to the video?
I'm glad that I've got a chance to be a part of Woodford County wrestling. It's fallen off a little bit since my time, but hopefully with Harrison and there's a buzz in the community too. Mm-hmm. So there's been a lot more kids that have shown interest or are active in open mats and doing what they need to get back on top. And we've you've got Harrison at the high school level. Tyler Baldwin is working with elementary kids. So
he's weak.
And then Rusty and myself, we're we're going to do as much as we can to help out at the middle school level. So,
That's great, man.
it's all about those feeder programs
Mm-hmm.
and, getting them started at a younger age. And that way, by the time they hit high school, they're able to compete, with
Mm-hmm.
those juniors and seniors. So,
Absolutely, man.
yep.
Absolutely. And I believe, I could be mistaken, but isn't Woodford County getting a new high school building in the near future? Is that correct?
Yeah. So they move in. If everything goes as planned, they'll move in for the semester starting in January.
Oh,
So
really?
they're finishing out this year in the old high school, and they should be moved in by the first of the year. So,
Well, that's going to be cool. Where now, for those of us not
yep.
from Woodford County, where's the school going to be at?
So it
Where
is
is
on
it
the
at,
new
I should
bypass.
say?
Well, right now it's on the right there, uh, North Main Street, Frankfurt Street, whatever you want to call it. But it's right now. It's right there between Frankfurt Street and the bypass.
Okay.
It's going to be over by the new bypass. For those of you that play football, close to the football stadium out there at the
Okay.
towards Falling Springs. If you're familiar with the middle school, it's going to be right there close to the new middle school. So,
Yeah, I know where the football stadium is. Okay, so that's gonna be good, man. It's gonna be good to get the new generation of Yellow Jackets, not just wrestlers, but all the youngsters, and
yep.
into a new building, man. And I'm just great. I mean, happy that Woodford County's got some coaching now with you, Rusty, Tyler, Harrison. Tyler, man, he's a two-timer, but every time I say it, I'm gonna give him the two thumbs down. He's a friend of mine. I can do that. Just great things, I guess, are on the way for the Woodford County High School and the Woodford County Wrestling Program. And you can always say, man, you're a pillar of the tradition.
Yep.
Absolutely. And look back on the kids now, pull up. Hey, let's watch Kyle Goodrich's match. Let's watch that guy Tyler Baldwin. He was terrible, I heard. Oh no, he was actually pretty good. So that's what I love about this series is finally being able to put mat time with names and
Yep.
wrestling ability with the photos we've seen up on the gyms or the banners, or Woodford does a really good job in their mat room with the names and the place winners, and in the gym, all the team state championship photos up. So now, if they didn't get to watch you in school, maybe they weren't even born yet or wasn't around the program, they can be like, hey man, I got to see your match. That was cool. That was a good
Yep.
job, man. But guys, I believe we reached a good ending point. Thank you all for watching. We will see you guys and girls on the mats.